Well, hey, what's up, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube? Trying something a little bit different tonight, man. I hope everybody's well. Spring has finally sprung here. I broke out a little spring shirt today just because the weather has been nice. Heather told me that it got up to 70 today, and so if you're in the great state of Michigan, you know what I'm talking about. It just feels amazing outside finally. You know, some of the times when I post on my story or anything that you see, you can see the sun shining, but just because the sun is shining doesn't mean that it is sunny and 70. It's more times than not sunny and 20. And so that's just one of the great treats of Michigan weather. But today the weather's been really nice, and it's been nice to be outside. It's been nice to have the windows open, hearing our kids playing and all that. So like I said, we're trying a few things new tonight, really trying to work on our engagement. And so as a pastor, what I've been talking to Heather and our team about was really making sure that we're engaging and helping people move forward, meaning take a step spiritually, do something, engage in some way to where we know that we're helping, that this is making a difference in your life. And so jumping on a few different platforms tonight just to test this out and see how it goes. And so I am going to go through the first half of tomorrow's message right now. So this week we're talking about how we essentially roll, like what it is that keeps us going, what keeps you going. In our current circumstance, especially here in Michigan, they're talking about extending the quarantine a little bit longer, which is safe, and it's probably the right thing to do, but everybody's stir crazy, right? And so in our current circumstance, what keeps you going? When you wake up in the morning, what makes you just feel like, yes? And in where we're at, it's so easy just to kind of slip into kind of like this coma, right? And just kind of be like in this lull of, well, our kids are at home, we're waking up later, we're going to bed way later. And at our house, we have a newborn, and so that kind of throws something new into the mix for us, right? And so then in all of what we're kind of going through, and depending on whether you're an essential worker, if you've been sent home or you've been your hours have been cut back, you kind of know what I'm talking about. There's kind of like this weird kind of lull happening right now. And so in our current circumstance, when you go to bed, what gets you excited about getting up tomorrow? And before the quarantine hit, was it like that? Or did you find that Sunday nights you couldn't sleep before Monday morning? This used to affect me greatly. Sunday night before Monday, man, I could not go to sleep Sunday night. And so what we're trying to answer is, man, what gets me excited to go to bed and what gets me amped up in the morning when I'm ready to kind of go? And so where you really believe I was made for this, right? Like you step up and you step into, and we're going to talk about some of the essentials tonight and in this. And so what I want you to know is today we're starting a conversation that I assume is going to carry for at least another week, if not 2 weeks. We all know what assume does. I've said many times that what I think we're going to talk about the next week, and then something gets put on my heart, whether during the week in my chair time. And so sometimes it changes. And so assuming this conversation is going to carry for the next 2 weeks, probably maybe 3, just depending on where we go. And so last week, if you were with us, we referenced Ephesians chapter 4. And in Ephesians 4, you see the unity and the diversity inside the church, right? You see unity and diversity. And so in verse 4 and 5, I'm going to reference a couple of these verses real quick. In verse 4 and 5, they really talk about oneness, which is huge. And if we're ever going to accomplish what Jesus came for, the mission of the church, then we must be one. There must be unity among us, the church, right? But before we can unite, you have to find your place. I have to find my place. Wyatt has to find his place. The people who are on our team, everybody here has to find their place. Like many parts of the body, and they're all different parts, but they all work together. And so what does unity look like with all the diversity inside the church? And so you're going to fast forward to verse 11, and we're going to park on verse 11, 12, and 13 tonight. This is Ephesians chapter 4 if you're taking notes. Verse 11 talks about, talks about a few of the gifts that we have. It says that God personally, or Jesus personally, gave some to be apostles, some prophets, some evangelists, some pastors, and some teachers. Right? Is this you? Did I just list off your job title? Teacher, pastor, apostle. Where do you fit in that? Do you find that you fit in one of these categories is the question. Think about it for 10 seconds, right? Maybe, maybe not. And a lot of us say no. No. And I would debate that we all fit into one of the categories. It says this: we are all teachers or leaders. There's one person that's looking up to us always, right? Some of us are pastors, some of us are teachers. But I would push you to consider yourself, regardless of where you're at in your faith or how long you've been, roaming the earth, to look at who's around you. And based on the circle of friends, the circle of coworkers you have, who of those people are looking to you for leadership? Maybe your boss, your CEO, maybe you're just a doctor, or you're just a nurse, or you're just a one person. But when you step into the circle, whether it be leading at your house or leading at the office or at work, who's looking up to you? We're all teachers. We're all leaders to some level, right? And so if you oversee one person or more, I would tell you that you're a teacher, that you're a pastor, that somebody's looking to you for leadership. Somebody's looking to you for care, right? For counsel, for advice. And so then, don't get it twisted. Just because I'm saying that you're a pastor doesn't mean that you're leading a church. I think all of our houses are churches, especially today, right? Especially in quarantine. So we're all that's what we've been putting out, the family content that we share, is to help people lead church at their house. Lead a conversation with your kids. If you're not engaged with that, you need to go and go to liveredefined.com, click on Church at Home, and have a conversation with your kids tomorrow. It's really cool. This week we are actually going to be making cards for whoever your children or you think about. And then the action step is to pray for that person and then go deliver the card. Drop it in their mailbox, drop it on their front door, and just say, hey, I was thinking about you, wanted to encourage you, wanted to love on you today. And so make sure that you check that out. In verse 12, Ephesians 4, verse 12, it says, he gave us these gifts for the training of the saints in the work of the ministry to build up the body of Christ. And so, plain English, please. So, to lead people, which means to encourage, equip, and empower people, to empower you, right? And so it's easy to read scripture sometimes and be like, not talking about me, right? It's easy to read the Bible and be like, that's good, man. That's good for all the people who sit in that position. But really, we are that position if we are the body, if we are the church. And so, and then the second half of that is to build up the church, which means to be the church. We can't build it without being it, right? Show me, don't tell me. It's leadership 101. And so how can we do that? Verse 13 says this. It says that we are to do this until we all reach unity in faith. One, right? Unity in faith and in the knowledge of God's Son until we are mature and full of Christ, or full of Jesus. And so then what is that? That means step up. That means own what it is, because the people who are waking up in the morning on purpose are walking in this. Jesus or no Jesus, they're walking it because they believe it, right? And so knowing that verse 13, that if we go to Ephesians 4, 11, 12, and 13, we see the end goal. The end goal says we are to do this. Do what? Walk in the gifts, right? Encourage, equip, and empower people for the building up of the church, us, to build the body, right? So that, or do this until we reach unity in faith and in the knowledge of God's Son, until we're fully mature, or full of Christ. So then knowing that the end goal is that, let's look at where we're at today, right? Because that's really great. It's very encouraging. But Dusty, I'm like 68 miles from that, right? And so let's take a look at where we are today, all in different places, all in different circumstances, different states. Some of you guys are in a different country right now, and you have a different circumstance that surrounds you right now, right? And so a large majority of us, though, we're looking to what is going to keep us going. What's going to make me really get into the day tomorrow where I don't get into this funk and this lull and, wake up on the wrong side of the bed or whatever. And so a lot of us are trying to find what's going to keep us going. And so there's a national statistic that's done by the Barna Group that tells us that 87% of all people who walk the face of the earth have no clue why they're here, right? Why am I on earth? One, that's a lot. Two, I don't want to talk about that tonight. I don't want to talk about the 87% stat. It's a little bit heavy. It's kind of depressing, right? And it'd be real easy just to kind of trend negatively into that. I want to look at the other side. I want to look at the 13%, especially in today's world, right? I want to look at the 13% that wake up and they say, I know exactly why I'm here. I know exactly what I'm doing. I know exactly why I'm doing it. Man, I am 100% all in. It's more positive, right? It's a lot more positive. And so you could be part of the 13% today. And if you are, it's phenomenal. The 13% they go to bed and they go to bed anxious for tomorrow, right? I'm not saying like rabid dog anxious, but like anticipating something great. That's how they wake up. They wake up anticipating the day, not knowing what it's going to hold, but man, they wake up with anticipation, right? When you're living in your gifting, like Ephesians 4:11 says, when you're living in your gifting, then there's life in that, right? You can find purpose in it and it keeps you going. And so, hang tight. When you're living out what you believe to be your purpose, it is refreshing. The Bible tells us in Proverbs 11:25, whoever refreshes others will also be refreshed. You're walking in refreshment, right? You're walking in that gifting. That's what keeps you going. It's not bad to not be there, but let's just look at the people who are, because they're an example for us, right? They're an example for us to see. And so when you're living in your gifting, it keeps it going. You're refreshing others. So let's look at some people right now who might be living in their gifting. Who are we celebrating the most right now? Essential workers, right? Thank God for the essential workers, for the fact that those people at some point in their life decided, I'm going to be a doctor. I'm going to be a nurse. I'm going to be, an ER trauma surgeon. I'm going to be that, right? And I think that I'm going to be one of the first responders. Like Oscar right now is talking about being a police officer. He's in love with it. And that's good for him. And so those people who decided to do that, aren't we so grateful for them right now? It's easy to be so grateful for them. Let's look at the people we're calling heroes, okay? Yes, there are so many people who are doing work, like even the people who are working at Lowe's right now, I have an appreciation for because they're there, right? They're there. And so the ones who wake up every morning and believe I was made for this, they wake up and they get out of bed. And so am I saying that everybody who is an essential worker right now wakes up with that? No, I'm not. But what happens when you wake up with that, when you wake up believing, man, this is what I was made to do, there's a passion and there's a drive and there's a desire. There's a fire inside you that says, yeah, man, this is it. I'm doing this today. This is where we're going, right? This is where I'm going. It's a small percentage that believe that. 13% of the world's population believe, yes. But that small percentage is a great example for us. And so, do they all have a relationship with God? I doubt it. I doubt it. I'm really not talking about that right now. I'm talking to get to unity or to be the church. And so, but the one thing they do have is relationships. It's Ephesians 4:12. For the equipping and the empowering of the saints, they have relationships. And so what they get up in the morning to do is they're going to people, right? And so, which means they're a lot closer than some of us because they have the relationships that we don't, because there are some of us who wake up and don't even look forward to going to the office and being around the people that we're with. Even though those people might be looking to us for leadership or counsel or pastoring, right? Teachers. And so, knowing and living in this, right, is what keeps everyone going. It has nothing to do, my purpose has nothing to do with my title. It has nothing to do with my status. It has nothing to do with my salary. My why is attached to a who. There's a drive and a passion and desire. It has everything to do with what keeps me going, has everything to do with the people who are around me, if that makes sense. And so the 13% who wake up every morning anticipating their day, believing this is why I'm here, understand that it is the people that make it worth it. Their families, their coworkers, the people that they get to help that day, especially for our people on the front lines, right? Now, on the flip side of that, you have some people who are told what they're going to be their whole life, right? Well, you're going to be this, and it's just who you are. That's because that's who your grandfather was, and that's who I was, and by God, that's who you're going to be. You have that trend. You also have people on the other side of the spectrum who would say, man, I could care less. I hate this job, but I love the salary. I love the benefits. And I just want to let you know that neither of those positions are rosy, right? They're not all rosy, because what happens, right? Like the great philosopher Biggie Small says, more money, more problems. The more you make, the more you give, the more you give out, the more you spend. And so the greater the challenge of keeping up with everybody else is, right? And so then being on purpose or in your purpose, whatever keeps you going, when you're in that, it has nothing to do with status, salary, title. It's everything to do with the people around you. It's the equipping of the saints. Saints. You're a saint. I'm a saint. You're a saint. I'm a saint. And so let's wrap this thing up. What do the 13% have that the 87% don't? Ephesians 4:11. They understand and believe their gifting. They understand and believe their gifting, and they're walking in it. They understand and believe their gifting, and they're walking in it. Ephesians 4:12. They use their gift to make those around them better because they understand it. They use it to create unity. That creates unity. Man, when I step in and I understand that I am holding a position, that I'm in a place where people are looking at me and I get that, that creates unity because now I step in with a leadership mentality, right? With that voice. This creates, when you do this, your gift creates unity in your company, at the hospital, at the school, or at the church, because we're all teachers, we're all pastors. And those, that 13%, they're stepping into that, okay? And so here's the point. The point is walking in your gift is what keeps you going, but it's really walking in love. It's really walking in love. And love pulls people together. It's what you're seeing right now with the COVID-19 relief efforts all around the world. People are coming together, and they're coming together in love. Facebook has created a new emoji for this where there's the happy face guy is hugging a heart. We're doing it with love. And so, because love in action creates unity, which is amazing. Love in action creates unity. It's amazing. And it actually gets us through. Because we all have these circles of people, right? We have these circles of influence. But that's not what Ephesians 4:13 says. It doesn't say keep the circles, right? It says for those circles to come together and be one. And so here's what I want you to imagine. Imagine one big circle, right? It says one big circle, and the love that we are giving is centered around the love of Christ. Okay? And it's not around my circle of people. What you'll see is then it's that love that you're giving is full of God's grace, right? And that builds the church, that builds the body, which is us, right? God's love in action is for people. It comes with no strings and it adds to heaven. It's a kingdom perspective. There's kingdom mindset in it. It is why every week we go to Einstein Brothers and serve these 3 local hospitals. It's amazing what we get to see. We're only allowed in the front door, but it just happens to be at shift change. We're taking care of the people who've been working overnight. And at shift change, the people who are saying thank you, and all they can do is receive because that's all they can do. They know I can't take anything in return. The people who are delivering the meal, they don't want anything in return. They just want to say, thank you for showing up last night. Thank you for serving. Thank you for giving. Let us give you a hot meal and a cup of coffee and some 5-hour energy for the daytime crew. And you guys keep killing it for us because you're making us better. It creates unity. There's no strings. And no strings attached means people can actually genuinely accept. And that's what we're getting to see. And so that's what makes us the church. That's why we must reintroduce what the church is. And that's what we're getting to do by delivering these meals to the local hospitals is that it's reintroducing, hey, this is the church. You guys can find the love of Jesus in a hot bagel sandwich, okay? It's right here, and that's what you need for today, and that's enough. And that's enough. And so tomorrow I'm going to finish up the second half of this message on our other platforms. I will see you right here at 10 a.m. Eastern. And we're going to be talking about we're going to go to the 87% side tomorrow because it's Sunday and that's what we do, right? We're going to be talking about how to step into finding what keeps you going. If you're not in the 13%, you don't wake up with your hair on fire, ready to go tackle the day, okay? There's a lot of us who don't. If that's you, we're going to be talking about that tomorrow. How do we take our first step into finding that and walking in it so we can move forward? If you want to know more about our COVID-19 relief efforts, you can click on the link in our bio on Instagram. If you're on YouTube, it's going to be in the description. If you're on Facebook, there'll be a link dropped in the conversation right now where you can go and read all about our goal for what we're doing. We're going to do this through the month of June. It's going to be amazing. And then if you want to know more about us, man, I would love for you, if you are on Instagram, to click the link in our bio. You can go there and there'll be a ton of options for you. It's an amazing opportunity to just to get to know us a little bit better, and the same thing for us to get to know you. If you're on YouTube, the link's in the bio, and then on Facebook as well, there's going to be a link that's just dropped into this conversation, to this feed. And I would love to know who you are and how we can help you move forward in your faith. All right? That's it. Thanks so much for watching tonight, man. Have a good night. See ya.